Hi, I'm John.
Hi, John. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. I'm the Godless Engineer. And just so you know, right now we're live streaming on my channel.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm live.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So why don't you tell everybody who you are, because I'm sure they don't know.
Yeah, I'm Pippa Evans, and I'm a comedian and the co-founder of Sunday Assembly, which is a movement of godless congregations.
Awesome. So now, what motivated you and Sanderson to, start the Sunday Assembly?
Well, I was very religious till I was about 17, and when I left church, I really missed church. I didn't miss God, and I found that kind of interesting. And I kept trying to go back to church, but because of the whole God bit, I found it really hard. So I was like, I wish there was a way you could do church without the God bit. And then I became a comedian, and I got married, and Sanderson and I were driving to a gig, and I was telling him about my wedding, and I was saying, it was in a big old hall, and I had to my husband wouldn't get married in a church, but my mum really wanted me to get married in the family church, and so we're like, how can we make this feel traditional, so my mum gets that churchy wedding feeling, but we don't have to say things that we don't agree with. So we were in a good, and then Sanderson was like, oh yeah, I've often thought whether there could be a church without God, and I was like, I've always wondered if that was possible, and a bit like when you promise to go jogging with someone, then you kind of have to go. So we're like, yeah, let's do that. Okay, let's do that. And so then that's how Sunday Assembly was born.
Oh, okay. Well, now, normally with my interviews, what I do is ask people about, their religious upbringing and, how they came out of faith, to try to help people that are still in the closet or think that they're alone, feel a little bit more connected. So I'm wondering, can you tell me a little bit more about, you growing up, in the faith, what experiences you had?
My mum was Church of England, which is sort of like a sort of Protestant, I suppose. And we all grew up like that. But then I had a friend who went to a Baptist church, which was really fun and really electric guitars, and we'd only ever sung with an organ, And so I was like, this place is amazing. And I really loved it, and I loved all the excitement, and this Jesus guy looked after me, and that God would listen to everything, and that I was really special. And then some stuff happened, bad things started happening to friends of mine. Nothing bad really happened to me, but I had a friend who had all this bad luck, and then someone I knew committed suicide, and all these things happened, and I was sort of going, well, seems odd that there's this God, and yet these things are happening, and why is he not looking after these people? And it really just made me start to question everything. And then I had this weird moment when I was praying, and I was talking to God, and I was like, so God, what's going on? And then God's like, it's just like life, isn't it? And I was like, God sounds a lot like me, and I was like, oh, maybe prayer is just me talking to me, and that's what it is. For me, I was like, oh, maybe it's just a way of me sorting through stuff. It's what prayer is to me. So I just sort of started going, oh, maybe God's not real, and panicking a bit, and then I sort of started going to church, started to feel a bit like a fraud, and so I stopped kind of turning up. And I slowly just withdrew from it, and I was quite scared because my church, you had to be a member, you had to go and you could become a member where you sort of did a regular tithe and that kind of thing. So it meant that to leave, I had to go and see the vicar and say, I'm leaving the church. And I remember I just started to cry. And he sort of went, oh, okay, being British as well. He was like, crying girl. So I left, and then that was the last I ever had really to do with them. And it was really sad because they were really lovely and really nice people, but I just couldn't be lying about how I felt.
Right.
So it wasn't very dramatic at all, but it was traumatic because it's like leaving your family, and you're basically saying to a load of people, I don't agree with you anymore, and also that was your main thing you had in common. So there's always this sort of slight awkwardness when you see them, that you're going, oh yeah, I I don't believe that anymore. And this lady from church turned up in a shop I was working in, and she said, she went, "Oh, Pippa, nice to see you." And I said, "Oh, hello." She said, "Which church do you go to now?" And I said, "Oh, I don't go to church anymore." And she went, "Well, we all have a choice." And then she left. And I was like, "Whoa." It was so mean. But it kind of made me go, "No, I made the right choice," if that's like the way someone speaks to you. You know?
Yeah, it kind of seemed like she was saying, "Oh, well, we all have a choice. You chose hell."
Yeah, basically, yeah. And I was like, what? And I always think that's just not the way to get people into the church. It's like, just be nice to people. Why do you always have to make them burn in hell?
Well, I'm wondering what, from your point of view, what's the dynamic like between, religion in the UK and over here in America?
Oh, it's really different. Yeah, really different. In the UK, you're more likely to be made fun of if you go to church than if you don't. Whereas here, you can be ostracized depending on where you are if you don't go to church. So I find that amazing that here it's got such a strong grip, and that you see people saying about Sunday. So people in the UK with Sunday Assembly go, "Oh, this is great. I really wanted to find my community, and it's really wonderful to find all these great people that believe in the same things as I do. Celebrating life and making the most of this life." Whereas in America, it feels much more like, I'm so glad I have a place where I can be myself. And I think that's, even though very similar, it's really different. And so there's a lot of people, because we don't talk about atheism at Sunday Assembly. The point being that we're not here to talk about being atheists. We're here to talk about how great life is. But in America, there's not as much a safe space to talk about being an atheist or not believing, or my favourite description is nons, because I think that's how a lot of people feel, is that they don't feel like, "I'm an atheist." They feel like, "I'm not sure, not even that I'm not sure, it's sort of like, I just don't even identify with that because it's another label for me." So there's a lot of people that don't want a label. And I think Sunday Assembly is the label for people that don't want labels.
Well, I mean, do you label yourself as an atheist?
I do and I don't. Like, as in, I think if I had to tick a box, if I had to tick a box, I probably would say I was an atheist. But I don't identify with it as a word. Like, it doesn't, I suppose a lot of atheist literature I've come across, and a lot of people that represent atheists out there often are very aggressive, particularly people I've come across. And I find I don't identify with that at all. And I suppose I'm not really interested in fighting church. And I know that's not what all of atheists do, but that's how I see atheism often, as being very defiant against the church. And I'm sort of more interested in how we can fill the space which is in between the two, I suppose.
Well, I mean, do you think that could be because, you're from the UK and there's such an acceptance over there?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, over here, we've got, like, major politicians that are running for president that are saying, basically you have to believe in God in order to be a good person and stuff like that. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it's 100% because of where I grew up. And so where Sunday Assembly is held in London, there's a sort of older group, which are quite strong atheists, and they were the ones, who were the ones pushing through, going, "No, this isn't right. That church has so much power," and they fought those battles. And we don't have to fight them as much anymore. Church still has a bit of power in the UK, but in general, people are starting to go, "Wait a minute, why are bishops making these decisions?" Whereas here, church is so strong. I mean, the fact that a presidential candidate can lose the election because he says the wrong thing about religion is fascinating. Like when the Dixie Chicks got in trouble, didn't they? Because they didn't like Bush. Was he said something against Bush? I know it wasn't really, but just the fact that there's so many people that have such a strong belief that if you question that they'll get really mad. And I think that's a very different place to where I come from. So I don't fight. I don't feel that really strong atheist or connection with that battle, I suppose, because I haven't had to do it. I'm lucky enough that I haven't had to do it.
Well, I mean, honestly, I hope that in America we get to the point where we're looking for a more, I guess blending together of those different faiths rather than having to fight so hard. But I'm kind of curious. I don't know if you've really been watching the news at all, but I know here in America, there's kind of this almost cannibalistic nature that's been going on in the Christian community, where a lot of the more fundamentalist groups are getting louder, of course, but they're also condemning Christians that are, I guess, more like those in the UK that aren't so fun. Yeah. And so I don't know if you've kept up with that, but I mean, what do you think about that? The fundamentalists kind of really yelling and speaking up more.
Well, I think that's what happens with. I mean, that's why people say atheism is a religion. It's because you have exactly that in atheism as well. Like you have the really strong atheist, and then people going like me going, oh, I'm not sure if I am an atheist really because I don't go on rallies. Does that make me an atheist? No. But the same thing that there's some Christians who say, if you don't go to church every Sunday and if you don't do this X Y Z, if you think gay marriage is okay, then you're not a Christian. Same with feminism. You can get see articles constantly about are you a feminist if you wear makeup? And there's women that there's a group I joined on Facebook which was all about how if you shave your legs then you're bowing down to male peer pressure, male pressure, and I was going, well no, actually I shave my legs because it feels nice, and that's my choice to shave my legs, and so I think that's the shame of it, is that we don't accept each other's beliefs. And I think if you fundamentally do live a good life and you give to your community and you're generous and you're kind, I don't see whether that's because you believe in Jesus or Muhammad or nothing. I don't see how those things couldn't work together. But it's when you start telling other people you're wrong for what you believe in is when it's tricky, I think. And the same with Muslims. You've got really hardcore fundamentalist Muslims, and then you've got other Muslims having to come out going, that's not what we all think, because those are the people with the loudest voice. In the same way that here, there will be a lot of Christians who are just really good, decent people. They're not all shouting, burn the gays, and I think that's the biggest problem, is those who shout the loudest are the ones that get heard.
Okay, yeah. Now, I'm kind of curious, what do you have planned for the rest of the weekend here? Like, do you plan
take
on
loads of drugs? No.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just wondering if you're planning on listening to most of the speakers, or.
Oh yeah. So because I'm teaching some workshops, but yeah, I'll definitely listen to the speakers, and I'm mainly just interested in hearing what somebody's are getting up to, because it's so different, and also again like the needs of people in different areas are very different. So, and like I say about some people really needing a non-religious community and that's the what's it called, the pinnacle of what they need. Whereas say like in London, it's people who are really sort of lonely because it's such a big city that they feel isolated, and they just needed something that had a grain of truth for them that they could gather together. So I'm intrigued to see what people are doing already. Like we just did a workshop about emceeing and hosting, and it was great to hear what everyone's been getting up to and all the different ways people have found to do the collection. So people don't like to do the collection, which most people have to do because we all do it for free, and so we need to pay for stuff, like the hall. And people feel really embarrassed, but everyone was like, oh well, one has like different paper mache pigs, like money boxes that they have a little story written on it, and then another one has like a cat in a hat, and they play like money, da da, and different ways that people are finding. So I suppose I'm really interested in the practical side of it, like, because that's why I started Sunday Assemblies, because I love community and I like helping people, and I like people that think like me but aren't like me.
Yeah.
And I think that's exciting.
Yeah, that's really my goal in coming to these conferences, doing these interviews, and streaming and whatnot, is try to create that sense of community. What would you say to like a person that's in the nuns category but's not really vocal about it? They're kind of in the closet about it. What would you say to somebody that might be watching this?
Well, I don't know, because I think it is really tricky. And I can only speak from a UK point of view, but even when I came out, it was hard, because I had to go back on everything I'd said, and I'd been a really read the Bible, preaching on the green kind of Christian. So I was literally going, hey, how I've been really annoying for the last 4 years, and you've been really cross with me, and I've told you that you're going to hell and stuff. I'm now saying that you were right, and so that kind of that embarrassment, I think, worth going through it. Change is always hard, you know. Change is always hard, but it's often for the best. So be brave.
All right. So now, what other workshops are you teaching or doing this week?
So this afternoon we're doing improvisation. So helping people think in the moment and using improv skills to build ideas. Because often, again, change is tricky and people don't like change. So when someone suggests something different, we often go no, whereas it'd be better to just say, okay, and how could we build on that? And we create an idea together rather than just going, I don't like your idea, which is our natural instinct. And then we've got our talent show tonight, so I'm hosting that, so that'll be exciting. And then tomorrow we're doing how to pick songs and lead songs. Okay. Because that is bizarrely one of the hardest things at Sunday Assembly is choosing the songs, getting people to sing the songs. So it's exciting.
Okay, awesome. Well, I appreciate you joining me for this short interview and taking time out. I know that you got to be busy. So, yeah.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Enjoy your time.
Yeah. Now I got to go and try to find somebody else to interview. I know I got to get Sanderson on at some point.
He's somewhere.
Yeah, I think I saw him go that way.
Just grab him. That's what I'd say. Alrighty. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Bye.